There is a reluctance of people to acknowledge partner rape, in the sense because I think it's still like a taboo topic. Sexual assault reporting is bad enough in itself, but if it was happening within a relationship or marriage, it would be further pushed away. I guess there'd be still some attitudes to say that what goes on in a marriage stays in the marriage.
I think because it's been accepted in all communities, not just the Indigenous community, that's the way it is and that's what you put up with.
And I sort of walked in the door expecting shock horror, you know, what's happened to you? And it was sort of, well, you must have done something to deserve that.
They also get higher levels of advice to put up with rape by their churches or families, like, you know, it's your duty, dear. You know, no other class of rape survivor would be advised that it is her duty to put up with it.
You know, you married the guy. That led me to believe that whatever happened in marriage was okay.
I think a lot of them think that just comes with it. That's part of the violence. That's part of him controlling you, because it's not only physical abuse. There's mental. There's you name it, he can do it. And yeah, if he wants it, he's going to get it. And most women will just lay there and take it. That's part of that whole intimate partner rape, is that it's still, you know, it's tolerated within a marriage because that's part of the wife's role, is that she's to provide sex for the husband.
If they've been hearing around them that it's not real rape or it's not serious, it's those social messages that are totally messed up.
They either didn't believe me, the people that I told either didn't believe me, or they didn't think that rape within a marriage was wrong. I just came across brick walls wherever I went.
We needed to have the police understand this was a very serious issue and that they needed to you know, be responding differently.
And it's knowing that you can trust the police as well to say, hey, this also happened, and for them to acknowledge, yeah, that is rape.
I wanted the members to understand that they should do something, just not go there and walk away. It's about ways of dealing with disputes. It's about ways of not seeing that you know, the violence, the hitting, the beating, the raping is in effect a natural process and acceptable. And that's what many men see.
Some boys and men learn to not take no for an answer, learn to see how far you can get with girls and women, to ignore girls and women's resistance or reluctance or silence. And we learn through media and through peers and so on that pressuring or forcing someone into sex is not only legitimate but actually sexy, even exciting.
When we live in a society where we have a rhetoric that we have gender equality, that women's issues are something of the past, they're all a bit ideological in 1970s, feminism is sort of all a bit, well, I always get said it's all a bit ideological, isn't it?
You know, the early days, a lot of these issues around violence against women, I think back to those days, and in some ways a lot of the philosophy was it had nothing to do with the police. And I think what we've seen happen, of course it's also about the whole feminist movement, the idea that this kind of, you know, the assaults and family violence was not just about a private matter, it was about a community matter. And I remember one of them told me a story about being dragged down the street by a hair by a husband. And he was a police officer as well. The police were called and they did nothing. And, you know, I figured if these women were strong and powerful women in the main, and that's what happened to them, what happened to women who didn't have that sort of support?
You know, it really makes the point that we're not there yet. Like, if anything could make that more explicit, it is this issue. If a minority of men still feel that this is okay within intimate partner relationships, and that says something deeply worrying about the status of women in our society still.
Violence has been part of society for 200 plus years, you know, and it's just, you know, it's a hand-me-down. Some of them couldn't care less, yeah, it's just part of who they are. They watch their dad do it, they've watched their uncles do it, they've watched, you know, other community members do it, so if they can do it, so can I, yeah.
What we're asking here is to confront an ugly truth, to confront a profound and deeply traumatic truth that some men assault and abuse and rape and belittle the women and children that they're supposed to love and care for.
I don't think people want to believe it. A bit like child abuse happens, but they don't want to, the community don't want to believe it.
My mother didn't think it was wrong. She thought I was exaggerating, and she just told me to go back home again and put up with it. The church that I was going to at the time, they just told me to pray for him, and they didn't believe in divorce. When I told them that he was going to end up killing me, the person that I was speaking to at the time said, well, at least you'll go to heaven then. And that was pretty much the attitude of the church as a whole. They had told my best friend, who was also going to the same church, that she was not to help me, otherwise she would be pushed out of the church.
He was just accepted. Everyone, apparently, most everyone, knew what was going on. His family didn't want to talk about it.
My GP, who actually prescribed the drugs in my name and gave them to my husband, and that was why, you know, I was rendered unconscious and helpless with the sexual assault. I felt very betrayed by that friendship.
I went to my family doctor after I had the caesarean, and I had my husband with me. I was hoping that the doctor would tell him to back off. I told the doctor that it hurt a lot. Could he please tell him not to do it? And he just said that women are built for sex and it shouldn't hurt, and if it does, it won't hurt for long. And so that just gave my husband the green light to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And I thought, what's the point in going to the police if the doctor won't believe me?
I think it's the doctor's relationship with the man which can interfere with the doctor's acceptance that, you know, that's been happening.
I think the doctor knew. He must have known, you know. He examined me, made me go in regular for VD checks because he knew my husband was playing up all over the place. They heard stories around town.
So I found it really difficult to know who to go to. I did feel that the police believed me, but they told me to go away and get some counselling and get on with my life.
And this particular chap had engaged in violence, and we went to the police station together, and it was fairly busy. By the time we got to the desk, the man said, I'd like to report myself for having assaulted my partner. And the particular policeman on the desk looked up and said, what did she do, mate?
I won't be blamed.
So I think that idea that the woman is somehow to blame is perpetuated in our culture and in our society.
I think another factor is a kind of widespread victim blaming, that ours is still a sexist culture, and we're still very prepared to believe that some women like to be beaten, or that some women ask to be raped, or that women make up stories and lie and so on. So those kinds of sexist myths feed into a kind of destructive focus on the victim.
I can't be blamed. I won't be blamed.
And victim blaming, in a sense, is a more comforting story about men's violence than a story about some men's callousness, some men's sense of entitlement, some men's sheer brutality towards women and children.
This really underlying powerful message is that women are responsible.